Thing that MATLAB can do really well is in visualizing data. So in this video we're going to cover a few basic elements. MATLAB can be very fancy at this. I encourage you to look further, but we'll cover a few very basic examples, including two-dimensional plots, three-dimensional plots, displaying images and displaying movies. And again, the script is available to you through the course website. So jumping right into MATLAB, here is where we have our script. It's visualizing data, so you don't have to type each time. And if you're doing your homework or so later on, you can actually just get inspiration for some of these commands to make your plots. And in this video, I'm going to use this extra trick here in MATLAB where you see if you start a section with the double % sign, MATLAB will understand this as a section in the script. And if you'd like to run this section here highlighted in yellow, all you have to do is press the run section button. So instead of just copying and pasting into the command window, I'm going to run the sections like that. So let's run the section and see what happens. So MATLAB went ahead and executed these things, and the reason I know that is because these variables have appeared in the workspace now. So I have these variables and they've been created like that. So this is a vector from 0 to 10. These are the input coordinates. This is the so-called independent variable. And then we have a sine function as a dependent variable and the cosine function as another dependent variable. So now if we can go to the next section, if we'd like to see plot the dependent variable as a function of the independent variable, we can run this section, and here is the plot, right? So we can actually overlay these two plots onto the same plot. So here the x-axis is our independent variable, so we called plot x and y, right? So as you would normally, and you can actually overlay these two plots on the same figure. So you have this hold on command that will let you do this for you. So let's close that. This plot is not very fancy, it's rather basic. It's worth noting that you can customize pretty much all the elements of your figure. So let's run this section. You can see now we're going to specify the color of the line, the type of the line, the width of the line, and so on. We're going to label the axis. We're going to set the limits of these axes and so on. So let's do all these things by running the section. So now you can see this figure. Hopefully it's much more pleasing to the eye. Right, your professor doesn't have to bug you about labeling your axes. This is done here neatly. The plots have, different values, right? It's worth noting what's happening here, right? Our x and y arrays are just arrays. They're vectors, right? Meaning they're numbers. So, and the plot is actually on these actual points here, which are marked with these markers. And what MATLAB is doing is filling in the gaps by essentially interpolating between these points, right? That's the default way MATLAB will plot things. You can actually turn these lines off as well and plot just the points. So I encourage you to look at the documentation for this plot function. You can do multiple plots in the same figure, and this is through this use of this subplot command. So let's run this section here. You can see now we have these two equations into different subplots in the same figure, right? It's worth noticing that you can also edit this graph manually, right? You can zoom in, zoom out, you can move it about, you can change the axis, title names, you can change the figure and so on. You can do all of this through this menu here. MATLAB also lets you create three-dimensional plots, right? So here you have to create two variables to store the x and y coordinates of your two-dimensional independent variable space, and then the third variable will be dependent on these two coordinates, and then we can plot these things as you'll see now. So here is a three-dimensional plot. This is just the dots. Right, and here is a MATLAB filling in the values in between with the surface command. You can have these two options, so you can start creating fancier graphs. As I think we showed in an earlier video, MATLAB also allows you to load and display images. And so let's run the section, see what it looks like. right? So, oops. You can display an image. That this is this command that is shown here through image show, right? And it scales the color bar appropriately for you. You can also view any two-dimensional array as an image as well, right? So you can type the image SC auto scale command and put the color bar so you know what the colors mean in terms of variable. You can also change the color bar to different color schemes as you see more pleasing. MATLAB allows you to also look at dynamic time series, including videos. So here is a script that will first create a two-dimensional plot and then animate this plot through a loop and store all of these frames into an array of frames, in other words, a movie, which you can then save as a regular movie, or you can load or play with the movie command as well. So let's run this section, and hopefully you can see this nice fancy plot. And now this movie here is in this F array, and if we just type this command here or execute this command, you can see that you can see the movie as well, and you can save this movie and so on with other commands as well.